very interesting topic, and that is conceptual. And again, of my lecture is not given in the book, while the mathematics, when I will start, those you will find in almost all the books. Okay, we are going to talk about addition of angular momentum, and this addition of angular momenta is about addition of, say, orbital and spin angular momenta of a particle, addition of orbital angular momenta and the spin angular momenta. It talks about the addition of, for example, a spin of the two different particles, or addition of orbital angular momentum of the two different particles, or it talks about the addition of two different total angular momentum. First, there is a particle which possesses orbital angular momentum as well as spin angular momentum, and then we are talking about the addition of angular momenta. Okay, therefore this is the orbital angular momentum and the spin angular momentum of a single particle. Or this is the spin of particle 1 and spin of particle 2. And we are assuming that both the particles are in S state. S state means their orbital angular momentum is 0. Here, both the particles have a spin angular momentum 0, and then they have got only the orbital angular momentum. Therefore, here I am talking about orbital angular momentum of particle 1 plus orbital angular momentum of particle 2. And then if you have total angular momentum of the particle 1 and total angular momentum of the particle 2, total angular momentum consists of orbital angular momentum and spin angular momentum of the particle 1 and orbital and spin angular momentum of particle 2, and then you are combining these two angular momenta to get the total angular momentum of the system. Therefore, here there are two particles and you are interested in the total angular momentum of the system. Okay, therefore you can have a single particle which possesses orbital angular momentum and spin angular momentum, or two different particles which have got orbital angular momentum only, and that means if it has got only orbital angular momentum and spin is 0, then that means the orbital angular momentum is the same as the total angular momentum. Here also the orbital angular momentum is the same as the total angular momentum. Here the particle is in S state and it has got a spin. S state corresponds to L equal to 0. Therefore, spin angular momentum is the same as the total angular momentum. Okay. Therefore, in general, what we are going to talk about, we are going to talk about J1 and J2, and this will be the master expression. From there, one can always obtain the relevant case for a spin, relevant case for orbital angular momentum. Okay. Similarly, if you have, I'm changing the slide. If you have isospin, what is isospin? Isospin is entirely a hypothetical world, because you see, orbital angular momentum is a realistic thing, have been seen in the experiments. Spin angular momentum, we know there are strong evidences for the spin angular momentum, although this is an intrinsic property of the system. But isospin was introduced keeping the analogy of a spin in mind, but isospin is purely a hypothetical quantum number, and this was introduced in particle physics to understand the different interactions in nature. Okay, we know that there are four interactions in nature: gravitational, electromagnetic, weak and strong. Since mass of these microscopic particles, electron, proton, neutron, pion, kaon, these masses are of the order of 10 power minus 27 kilogram or less than that. Therefore, nobody talks about the gravitational interaction. We only talk about the three different interactions: electromagnetic, strong, and weak. We say that in general, among all these four interactions, strong interaction is the strongest interaction in nature, but its range is quite small, typically of the order of 1 Fermi, while weak interaction is further 100 times smaller than the strong interaction, while the range for electromagnetic interaction is infinite. Okay, therefore, to understand that, suppose I have been given two particles and those two particles are interacting. Now, how with the help of isospin quantum number, we can classify the interaction, that if these are the two particles and you have these final states, then these two particles are interacting through a weak interaction, or they are interacting through electromagnetic interaction, or they are interacting through strong interaction. Have you heard of the name isospin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, this is a hypothetical quantum number. Hypothetical quantum number. And this was introduced to classify. Please mic अपना off कर दो. Classify the different interactions. Okay. What are the different interactions that we talk about? Is strong interaction, electromagnetic interaction, and weak interaction. Okay. Now, in the case of a strong interaction, both I and its third component both are conserved. In electromagnetic interaction, I is not conserved and I3 is conserved. In weak interaction, neither I3 nor I is conserved. Okay, this is how we classify any interaction, by looking at the particles. Now, the important point is, when we talk about particles, that means the particles which have been observed in nature. Why I have written this word? Because quarks are also particles, but quarks are though they exist only in bound state, like in mesons you have quark anti-quarks, or in baryons you have three quark system. Okay, therefore the quark anti-quark system or three quark system, they exist like proton exists, neutron exists, pion exists, meson, rho meson exists, etc. But the quarks inside them, they don't exist independently. While quarks, leptons, and mediating quanta, they are called quarks, leptons, and mediating quanta. They constitute what we call as elementary particles. Elementary means that cannot be divided. That is a single entity and it has no structure. Elementary means, elementary in dictionary means that cannot be divided. That means it has no structure. This is what we call by the name elementary. Okay. Therefore, quarks, leptons, and mediating quanta. What are the quarks? Up, down, charm, strange, top, bottom, and then their anti-particles, U bar, D bar, C bar, T bar, B bar, and S bar. Then leptons, neutrino, electron, muon, neutrino, and muon, and tauon, neutrino, and tauon. And then their anti-particles. Therefore, there are 6 quarks, 6 anti-quarks, 6 leptons, 6 anti-leptons, and then there are mediating quanta. The mediating quanta for strong interaction is gluons, and gluons come in 8 different types. Then for weak interaction, it is W plus, W minus, and Z0 boson. And for electromagnetic interaction, it is what? It is photon. Therefore, you have mediating quanta like W plus, W minus, and Z0 bosons. They are the mediating quanta for weak interaction. Gluons for strong interaction, and photons for electromagnetic. And then besides that, there is one more elementary object that we call by the name Higgs boson, which is responsible for giving masses to the particles. And because of this Higgs boson is the quanta of Higgs field, and when the particle interacts with the Higgs field, the strength of the interaction gives rise to the mass to the particle. The more strongly a particle is going to interact with the Higgs field, it will be more massive, while lighter particles will interact very weakly. Therefore, if the particle is massless, that means it does not interact with the Higgs field. But all these particles are known as elementary particles. Without them, we cannot understand nature. That means no matter what system, what particle, what universe you are talking about, ultimately if you break it, this will die down to these objects. Then we have particles which we observe in nature, and they are mainly classified into fermions and bosons. Fermions, we know the particles which obey Fermi-Dirac statistics. Their spins are half odd integral multiple of H cross. They obey Pauli's exclusion principle. Okay, spins are half odd integral multiple of H cross. They obey Pauli's exclusion principle, and they obey Fermi-Dirac statistics, and that is why the wave functions are antisymmetric in nature. Wave functions are antisymmetric in nature. While they have got integer spins, they don't obey Pauli's exclusion principle. They are described by Bose-Einstein statistics, and their wave functions are symmetric in nature. Then we classify further these fermions into two broad groups. One we call them by the name leptons, and another by the name baryons. All these particles which I have written here, these are leptons. They are found in nature. They have been experimentally observed. And their antiparticles, those have also been experimentally observed. But the important point is that leptons do not participate in a strong interaction. They do not participate in a strong interaction. While baryons, they are particles which participate in all interactions. If they are massive, they will also participate in a strong interaction, but we are not talking about a strong interaction because that will be there wherever there will be mass to a particle. Baryons, proton, neutron, lambda, sigma, delta, cascade, omega, these are all baryons. And then what are bosons? One is meson, pi meson, k meson, eta meson, rho meson, omega meson, phi meson. They are made up of quark anti-quark pair, while all baryons are made up of 3 quarks and anti-baryons anti-quarks. And then you have mediating quanta. All mediating quanta which I have written on the left hand side, they are bosons. They have got a spin which are odd integral multiple of H cross. Photon, W boson, Z boson, gluons, they are all spin 1 particles. While graviton is a spin 2 particle. Okay. Therefore, the important points are that mesons are quark anti-quark pairs, baryons are 3 quark system. As you have baryons, you have also anti-baryons, which are made up of 3 anti-quarks, and these baryons and mesons together, they are called baryons and mesons together, they are called what?
Hadrons.
Hadrons. They are called hadrons. Why they are called hadrons? Because all these particles, they participate in a strong interaction. Also participate. Let me be very clear. Also participate. It is not that they don't participate in weak interaction or like, they also participate in a strong. While leptons, they don't participate in a strong interaction. Therefore, baryons plus mesons, they make hadrons. Okay, and hadrons are basically not an elementary object. Those which are found in, mind it, quarks are also baryons, anti-quarks are also anti-baryons, but they are not found individually. We are talking about here the particles which are observed in nature, and all the hadrons which are observed in nature, they are not an elementary object. They are made up of either three quarks, three anti-quarks, or quark anti-quark system. Is it fine? Any question till now? No. Okay. Now the important point is that for hadrons, we assign isospin quantum number. Why I was talking about all these? Because for hadrons, we assign isospin quantum number. We don't assign isospin quantum number to medianity quantum. We don't assign isospin quantum number to the leptons. We assign isospin quantum number to the hadrons. We do assign isotopic spin quantum number to the quarks, because quarks make hadron, and the total of quantum number should be conserved if we are talking about a strong interaction. Now the question arises, why isotopic spin quantum number was required? The answer to that is, if you look at proton and neutron, if I have given you proton and neutron, and I switch off electromagnetic interaction, or I have given you pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus, and I switch off electromagnetic interaction, or I have given you k plus, k minus, or k0, k0 bar, and I switch off electromagnetic interaction, then there is no way to distinguish between a proton and a neutron. You cannot then, because when you apply magnetic field, you find that proton moves in some direction, while neutrons, they are neutral particles, they are unaffected by the magnetic field, they move in the straight direction. Then only you are, suppose I have a mixed beam of protons and neutrons and there is no magnetic field, then you cannot say by looking at proton or neutron that which one is a proton and which one is a neutron. Similarly, if you have a mixed beam of pions where there are pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus, then if you switch off the electromagnetic interaction, that means switch off the charges on the particle, then you cannot distinguish among a pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus. Okay? And that is why we say that a strong interaction is flavor blind. A strong interaction is flavor blind. That means it does not see a proton or a neutron. It sees only nucleons. That is why a common name to protons and neutrons was given, and this we know by the name nucleons. This we know by the name pions, and similarly kaons and other particles. Therefore, what are the nucleons? They can be either proton or neutron, or if we switch on the electromagnetic interaction, then only we will be able to distinguish between proton and a neutron. Okay? Then it was argued that, okay, a strong interaction does not distinguish between a proton and a neutron, or it does not distinguish among pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus. How to develop a formalism which will be equally valid if we switch on the electromagnetic interaction? Okay, but mind it, isospin that I am talking about is only for the hadrons. Okay, therefore, when I am talking about a proton and neutron, what was the experimental evidence which supported the idea that a strong interaction is flavor blind? What was the experimental evidence which supported the idea that a strong interaction is flavor blind? Anybody? It was from the studies of mirror nuclei. Mirror nuclei. What are mirror nuclei? The proton number of one nuclei is the neutron number of another nuclei. Mass number would be the same. Proton number of one nuclei is the neutron number of other nuclei. These are all examples of mirror nuclei. And you have scores of mirror nuclei, okay, which have been experimentally observed in nature. Now, what is the difference between lithium and beryllium? You will say that one has got 3 protons and another has got 4 protons, and vice versa for the neutrons. Now, that means if there are 3 protons, then the Coulombic interaction here would be different than the Coulombic interaction here, or Coulombic interaction here would be different than the Coulombic interaction here. I tell you that take off the Coulomb interaction energy part from the 2 nuclei, or take out the Coulomb interaction energy part, that would make the difference in the masses from these 2 nuclei. Then what was observed, that if we take out Coulomb interaction energy part, which is only arising because of the electromagnetic interaction, then the masses of these 2 particles, or these 2 particles, or these 2 particles turned out to be exactly the same. That if you switch off the electromagnetic interaction, then the mirror nuclei have the same mass. And that means a strong interaction is not distinguishing between a proton and a neutron. Had it been so, then the masses of these particles would have been different. But the masses were found to be exactly same if we take out the Coulomb interaction energy part. And this is what I was telling you, that if you switch off the electromagnetic interaction, then you cannot distinguish between a proton and a neutron. Therefore, the mirror nuclei, where the study of masses of the mirror nuclei were the compelling evidence to understand that a strong interaction does not distinguish between a proton and a neutron. And that is why it is written that the force between proton and a proton in a strong interaction is the same as between proton and a neutron, and between the 2 neutrons. These interaction is strength. For this is true only for strong interaction. This is true for only for the strong interaction. Okay. Therefore, a strong interaction does not see a proton or a neutron. It does not see a pi plus, pi 0 or pi minus. It does not see a rho plus, rho 0 or rho minus. It does not see a delta plus plus, delta 0 or delta minus. What it sees is only a delta. This delta can be a delta plus, it can be delta minus, or delta plus plus, whatever it can be. Okay. Therefore, what people did, people then introduce isotopic spin quantum number.
Sir,
And this was,
so strong interaction is just dependent on mass then.
strong interaction is not dependent upon mass. From where the mass is coming? Mass is coming from from the composite particles, protons and neutrons. Okay, mass to a nucleus is coming from the masses of protons and neutrons. From where the masses of protons and neutrons are coming? From the masses of quarks inside the system, where quarks, they are not free quarks, they have got, they are bound, that means uh, they are interacting through some potential. Therefore, the important point is the mass to a nucleus like 3 lithium 7 I have written is coming from the masses of 3 protons plus 4 neutrons, isn't it? And where the masses of 3 protons are coming? From the masses of quarks. This is also coming from the masses of quarks, where these quarks are not free quarks, but they are bound quarks. Okay, what I am telling you, that these protons, besides interacting through a strong interaction, they also do interact via electromagnetic interaction, and electromagnetic interaction gives rise to an extra interaction energy, which is as added to the mass of this system. Okay, and what I am telling you, that if you switch off the mass of arising due to Coulomb interaction, then the mass of 3 lithium 7 and 4 beryllium 7, they will turn out to be exactly the same. That means if this is not there, then what is interaction is left? The interaction that is left is only the strong interaction. And that means the strong interaction is happening among these 7 particles with equal strength. Between the 2 protons, or between the 2 neutrons, or between a proton and a neutron. And ultimately they are giving rise to total mass of the nucleus. Therefore, what I am telling you, that if you have 3 lithium 7, 4 beryllium 7, I have switched off the electromagnetic interaction. That means all of them are white objects. 7 white objects here, 7 white objects here. Why I am calling them as white objects? Because a strong interaction is not distinguishing between proton and neutron. Then what I am telling you, that these white objects, they are interacting among themselves with equal strength. They are contributing equally to the total mass of the system. That is why the system is unable to see whether there are protons or whether there are neutrons inside the nucleus. And when you switch on the electromagnetic interaction, then only some has got shade of different colors. That is electromagnetic interaction, that there are protons, 3 protons, and here there are 4 protons. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what happened, that then people introduced an isotopic spin quantum number I equal to half. अभी 1 मिनट के अंदर शायद हम लोग को फिर से रिकनेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. I equal to half, and assign the maximum projection plus half to the particle which has got maximum charge. Now again, since this is a hypothetical quantum number, therefore I3 is equal to plus half is assigned to proton. The question arises, who instructed us to assign I3 equal to plus half to the protons? The answer to that is nobody instructed us, just we followed a convention that the highest charge will be given the maximum projection. Similarly, if we have sigma plus, sigma 0, sigma minus, or we have pi plus, pi 0 or pi minus, or we have rho plus, rho 0 or rho minus, then all these type of particles are particles are discussing that proton, neutron, cascade 0, cascade minus, k plus, k0, k0 bar, k minus. These are doublets, iso doublets. Okay. Why we place k plus, k0 in a doublet and k0 bar, k minus in another doublet is because this has got straightness plus 1 quantum number and this has got straightness minus 1 quantum number. And isospin, if I ask you what are the isospin of these particles, the common answer is isospin for all of them, the isospin is half. Isospin for all these particles, the isospin is half. Okay, then I ask you the question, what is the projection? Then you will say that this is plus half, this is minus half, this is plus half, this is minus half, this is plus half, this is minus half. You see, this k plus has got a charge plus 1 and k0 is neutral. Highest charge is given maximum projection, where k0 bar is neutral and k minus has got a negative charge. Therefore, k minus has got isotopic projection as minus half, while k0 bar has isotopic projection as plus half. These are the common examples of doublets of particles. Then you have singlet of particles. That means particles which exist, which is of a type which is all alone, single. There is no partner, like eta 0, eta 0 prime, lambda 0, omega 0, phi 0. These are known as isosinglets. That means their isotopic spin quantum number is 0. Then you have isotriplets, like sigma plus, sigma 0, sigma minus, pi plus, pi 0, pi minus, rho plus, rho 0, rho minus. Then what is the antiparticle of sigma plus?
Sigma minus.
No. See, this is very important concept, that whenever we talk about antiparticle, the quantum numbers which get reversed, like its charge get reversed, and that is why you are saying sigma minus. But not only charge, if it has got a lepton number should be reversed, baryon number should be reversed. If it has got a magnetic moment should change its sign. Now sigma plus is a baryon and sigma minus is also a baryon. Cascade 0 is a baryon and cascade minus is also a baryon. Proton is a baryon and neutron is also a baryon. They are not anti-baryons. They are not anti-baryons. Therefore, the antiparticle of sigma plus is sigma plus bar. Sigma 0 is sigma 0 bar. Sigma minus is sigma minus bar. And now why I have written this in the reverse order than what I had written over here? This is because charge will get reversed. Therefore, this will become plus 1 charge, 0 charge and minus 1 charge. And what I have told you that I for all three of them will be 1, but I3 will be plus 1 for the highest charge. Therefore, here I3 will be plus 1 for this, 0 for this and minus 1 for this. But for sigma minus bar, sigma 0 bar and sigma plus bar, the charge has got reversed and therefore the projection we have to assign very carefully. Now, what is the antiparticle of sigma cascade minus? Anybody? It is cascade minus bar and cascade 0 is cascade 0 bar. And now you see this is cascade minus bar. That means what is its charge? Plus 1 antiparticle. While neutral particle will have 0 charge. And that means isotopic spin maximum projection we will assign to the highest charge state and minimum projection to the lowest charge state. Similarly, proton, the antiparticle of proton is antiproton. And for neutron, the antiparticle is antineutron. While proton is a positively charged particle, antiproton is a negatively charged particle, while neutron is neutral. Therefore, here I3 will be plus half for antineutron and minus half for antiproton. Okay. But in the case of mesons, they don't have lepton number or baryon quantum numbers. Therefore, the antiparticle of pi plus is pi minus, and for rho plus the antiparticle is rho minus. While pi 0 is its own antiparticle, rho 0 is its own antiparticle. Here we define I3 is plus 1, 0 and minus 1, and here also I3 plus 1, 0 and minus 1. Is there any question? Therefore, to the doublet of particles, we assign isotopic spin half. To triplet, we assign isotopic spin 1. For singlet of particles, we assign I equal to 0. Similarly, we have quartet of particles like delta plus, delta 0 and delta minus. This is quartet 3 by 2. Projection will be plus 3 by 2, plus half, minus half and minus 3 by 2. Now, what are these deltas? These deltas are baryons. They are made up of 3 quarks. Therefore, what is the antiparticle of delta plus plus? What is the antiparticle of delta plus plus?
delta plus bar.
bar, delta plus bar, then delta plus bar, delta 0 bar, and delta minus bar. And what will be the charge? Plus 1, 0, minus 1, and minus 2. Now, if it is quadrant of a state having I equal to 3 by 2, I3 will be plus 3 by 2 for delta plus, and similarly for delta minus bar, plus half for delta plus for delta 0 bar, minus half for delta minus, it is also for delta plus bar, and minus 3 by 2 for delta minus, which will be also true for delta plus bar. But if I asked you, what is the isotopic spin of electron? The answer is, we don't assign isotopic spin to the leptons, whether it is an electron or neutrino or muon or anti-neutrino or whatever it is. We don't assign any isotopic spin quantum number to the leptons. We don't assign any isotopic quantum number to the bosons, intermediate bosons, which are the quanta of different interaction. We only assign isotopic spin quantum numbers to the hadrons. And then what I have told you, that we also assign isotopic spin quantum number to the quarks, as historically it was U and D quark which first were considered to be the particles which is responsible for the existence of protons and neutrons. Therefore, isotopic and charge of U quark is 2 by 3 times electronic charge, and this is minus 1. Therefore, we assign half to them and plus half and minus half to these U and U quarks. For all the other particles, we assign isotopic spin 0. Similarly, for anti-quarks, U bar has got charge minus 2 by 3, D bar has got charge plus 1 by 3. Therefore, D bar has isotopic spin projection plus half, and U bar has isotopic projection as minus half. Okay, therefore this will be for U bar and this will be for D bar. Therefore, the important point is that for charm, strange, top and bottom quarks, we don't assign any isotopic spin quantum number. We only assign isotopic spin quantum numbers to the U quark and to the D quark. Is it clear? Now, with this introduction of isotopic spin quantum number, we are going to talk about spin addition, angular momentum addition in general, and number 3, what? Isospin addition. That means addition of a spin angular momentum of two particles, addition of, in general, angular momentum of the particles, total angular momentum, that can also be orbital angular momentum alone, and then addition of what? Isospin quantum number. Okay? Now let us start from the very basic. If I have got two spin states, there are two states available to you, and I have given you two spin half particles. I have given you two spin half particles. Now, those two spin half particles can have spin orientation random. Random means its third component, both can be in the same direction, both can be in opposite direction. One can be in the spin up state and another can be in a down state, and vice versa. Therefore, if I have told you that I am giving you two spin half particles, what will be the total spin of the system? Then you will say that, sir, the system will be from S1 minus S2 to S1 plus S2, and that will be for sure 0 and 1. Now, my other question will be that if it is S equal to 1, then what will be possible projection? Then your answer will be, the possible projection will be plus 1, 0 or minus 1. And if it is 0, then you will say that, sir, the total projection can only be Sz is equal to 0. Therefore, if I ask you the question that what are the possibilities of forming different states, then you will say that, sir, the different states those are possible is 1 plus 1 or 1 0 or 1 minus 1, and the fourth possibility is 0 0. 1 plus 1, 1 0, 1 minus 1, 0 0. Similarly, I am drawing a parallel. I am giving you two isotopic spin objects. Now, what they can be two protons, they can be a proton and a neutron, they can be two neutrons. Who is going to decide that? Depending upon the projection. Now, what I have told you that the isotopic spin algebra was developed parallel to the spin algebra. Therefore, I will be 0 and 1. If I is 0 and 1, then I3 will be 0 for 0, and for 1 it will be plus 1, 0 and minus 1. Therefore, how many states you are going to form? You will say that again there are quartet of states, 1 plus 1, 1 0, 1 minus 1 and 0 0. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let us talk about each one of them. I am talking about the fact that I have got a state of the composite system as 1 and plus 1. That total spin of the system is 1 and total projection of the system is plus 1. And if I ask you the question that how you can think of forming a system from the two spin half particles where the resultant is S is equal to plus 1, S is equal to 1 and Sz is equal to plus 1, then your answer would be that first state spin is half, The second state, the spin is half. This I may call it by the J1. This I may call it by the name J2. And then we have the total angular momentum J, which is this is guy. This is 1. See, this won't, J will never, or L or S, that they will never carry any sign. Only the projection will carry a sign. This is the projection. And then what is my result? I am telling you that I have got a system which has total projection as what? The total projection is +1. This is my capital M. Now, if I ask you the question, how I can form +1 projection state from 2 spin half objects, then your answer would be that this is only possible when half has got a projection plus half and this has also got a projection plus half, such that this is M1, this is M2, and we know that projections are algebraically added, keeping the sign intact. Therefore, this will be plus half plus half, that is giving me +1. Therefore, this is, you have formed from a state J1M1 J2M2 JM. Or equivalently, I can tell you that I am giving you two objects. In both these states, you have M1 equal to plus half as well as M2 is equal to plus half. How you are combining this? Then you are saying that this is half plus half, this is J1, this is J2, this is M1, this is M2, and the point is this has got fixed because projections are algebraically added, while angular momentum will go from J1 minus J2 to J1 plus J2. But when we will take J1 minus J2, this will be, projection will be 0, J will be 0, and 0 cannot have a projection plus 1. Therefore, the only possibility is that this is giving you J1 plus J2 and you are forming a state 1 plus 1. Now look at these two pictures for 1 minute and tell me where is the confusion.
Sir, is it a matrix?
This is what we will call it as Clebsch-Gordon coefficients. For sure, this is going to be by choice a real number, and this will give you the fact. See, in your syllabus, the topic is addition of angular momenta and Clebsch-Gordon coefficients. But if I started with pure mathematics, J1, M1, J2, M2, etc. from beginning, it will be very difficult to later realize why we are doing it. And what I am telling you, that I have been given two objects and we have been asked to combine these two objects to get the net angular momentum or net isospin of the particle or net spin of the particle. How we are combining the two systems. Now, one is what I am telling you, that half plus half, and that means what I am doing, I am writing a state Jm. This will turn out, what I am telling you, this will turn out to be a real number, and which we will call by the name Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, and this we will represent it by something like this: C J1 J2 J, or M1. Let me just write M1 M2 Jm, and the states which we have formed from J1 M1 J2, J1 M1 or J2 M2, or equivalently J1 M1 J2 M2, this is equal to same quantity here J. Now half plus half is basically a, on the last term we have discussed that half plus half we represent by a spin up state. Therefore, there is a state which is in the spin upward direction. This is also a state which is in the spin upward direction. Therefore, 1 plus 1 state of a system you can only obtain when in both these states the particle will be in the spin up direction. In both these states, the particle will be in the spin up direction. Similarly, if I ask you the question, what will happen when I want a combined state of 1 minus 1? Any answer? Combined state of 1 minus 1. What will be the answer? That this will be possible only when
Minus 1 by 2, minus 1 by 2.
projections are very, sign on the projection is very important. Okay, and that this when you have maximum projection or when you have the minimum projection, extreme limit I am talking about. Maximum projection means plus half plus 1. Minimum projection minus half and minus 1. Then always we will see that this we are going to obtain in the next or in the Tuesday class. This Clebsch-Gordon coefficient will turn out to be 1 if we talk about the maximum projection side. If we talk about the maximum projection side, then this will be how much? This will be always 1. For example, let me just take another example. If I say I am talking about 1 half, here the projection is plus 1, here the projection is plus half. But the other possibility is Now tell me, what should I write here and here, here and here, here and here, here and here? Anybody? Volunteer करिए, बताइए. मैंने क्या बताया था कि projections are algebraically added. Therefore, this should be
3/2 plus 3/2.
3 by 2 plus 3 by 2. What about this guy?
3/2 and plus half.
See, why it cannot be half, whose projection is plus half? Why it cannot be half? Why it can be only 3 by 2? Because see, what I have told you, this will go from J1 minus J2 to J1 plus J2. Therefore, one possibility is this is 3 by 2. The other possibility could be this can be half also. Half, the projection of half can be plus half. Isn't it? Similarly here, now tell me what will happen in this case. Anybody?
1/2 and minus 3/2.
No. Now it cannot be 1 by 2. Why? Because 1 by 2 cannot have a projection minus 3 by 2. 1 by 2 can only have a projection plus half or minus half. 1 by 2 can only have a projection plus half or minus half. Therefore, here the only possibility is 3 by 2, like here we had only the possibility as plus 3 by 2. Therefore, here we have the possibility of projection is 3 by 2 plus 3 by 2. Here the projection is 3 by 2 minus 3 by 2. And what I am telling you, that these are the maximum projections or minimum projection of the system, where one maximum projection, half maximum projection, 3 by, while here in this case you have the maximum projection of half is plus half, but this is minimum projection. Therefore, one is maximum, one is minimum, one could be in between two, like here 1 0 half plus half. Therefore, in the cases where you have mixed things, like here or like here, for example, what could be the states? Anybody? See, 0 and minus half can only give you minus half, but minus half you can get from 3 by 2 as well as 1 by 2. Okay, therefore this quantity will not be 1, this quantity will not be 1, this quantity will not be 1, this will, but this maximum projection, if we have 1 plus 1, half plus half, 3 by 2 plus 3 by 2, or 3 by 2 to minus 3 by 2, half to minus half, and minimum projection, maximum projection, these results we will see in the class. These Clebsch-Gordon would turn out to be equal to 1, while others, they will turn out to be non-zero quantities, but they won't be equal to 1. Therefore, the important point from where I will conclude today's lecture is that if you have J1, maximum projection means plus J1, J2 plus J2, J, or J1 minus J1, J2 minus J2, J minus J1 plus J2. What should I write here?
One.
Yes. Why? Because 1 plus 1 maximum, half plus half maximum. This is algebraically added. Therefore, this will decide what should be the value of j, and the only possible value of j will be 3 by 2. Now, if I write something like this, what should my value here? Algebraically added. And here it should be 2. And then what is this Kelebs-Gordon? Maximum projection 1. But the other possibility of this 1 1 could be 0 minus 1. Then it will be minus 1. And minus 1 you can achieve from minus 1 you can achieve from 2. Minus 1 you can also achieve from 1. Because 2 can have a projection plus 2, plus 1, 0, minus 1, minus 2. 1 can have a projection plus 1, 0 and minus 1. Therefore, think about all this, and tomorrow I will again continue from this part, that what is this Kelebs-Gordon coefficient, how we are adding them up, and what is their physical significance. ओके कल के लेक्चर के बाद जो भी चीज होगी वो आपको किताबों में मिलेगी. आज और कल का लेक्चर जो है वो किताबों की दुनिया से अलग है. पहले मैं आपको कन्विंस कराऊंगा कल तक कि हमें एडिशन ऑफ एंगुलर मोमेंटा क्यों पढ़ना चाहिए और Kelebs-Gordon कोफिशिएंट का फिजिकल सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है. तब हम लोग जा करके मैथमेटिक्स करनी शुरू करेंगे. एंड टुमारो वी विल स्टार्ट एट 11. ओके, अगेन फ्रॉम 11 to 12:20. Okay, let's stop here. We shall start tomorrow. Thank you.